The Sempiternal Wound is a split between two Spain-based death metal bands. Death doom metal, if you will. They're both doom oriented on this record, at least, and I think there's a surprise from each band in some respect. I think that obviously Sanctuarium has been very consistent. It's a very simply straightforward type of death doom metal. It's classic in its meter and movement. Everything is very straightforward from the band. It's almost like he just doesn't really give a shit. He's going to do what he wants, and that's cool. It's a very classic old school sound, and I can really sum up what he does is just two very long form pieces. There's an 8 minute and a 10 minute song here, and I think I'm not necessarily getting that out of the way, but I think that that's been such a sturdy set of very prolific output from the artist thus far. I think we can depend on that person to bring a very strong standard to his work, which just doesn't give a shit. It's old school, it's classic, it's straightforward, it's heavy, it's got riffs, and that's about all I need to say about it. I did review his latest full length from the band. It is itself a little bit different, but just very good, very consistent, and classic stuff. So I've said a lot about Sanctuarium lately. I think it's more of an event that we get something new from Jade here. It's been a couple of years, and these folks originally they were split between Germany and Spain, and they have their own unique sound, which we'll get to that in a moment. Let's just cut to a clip of one of their songs, which I think is probably one of the better songs of this year that I've heard. So let's cut to that. So early on, when Jade first showed up, it was a atmospheric form of death metal. They were described as psychedelic death metal. Of course, that caught my ear, and it wasn't necessarily the Morbus Chron type thing. It wasn't necessarily the incantation-esque sound. It was something that was kind of like Bolzer early on, but then there was an element of something like Tiamat to it. There was a little bit of a not necessarily melodic death doom to it, but there was a declarative style of vocal. That there was this something very unique about Jade early on that had appealed to me, and when I followed them to the pacification of death full length in 2022, I was really in awe of that record. It was quite different. It was hard to describe. There were other bands that had some similar sounds going on at the time, but there was very much a unique statement from Jade. And I think that now that we get to this EP, I feel like they're turning another page, and they're stepping into something that is a little bit less repetitive in what it does to catch the attention of the ear, and now has more of those melodic death doom metal influences worked in. I think that the song Cascade, just it's an easy hook. It's a quick way to get into this. It's an exceptional song. I think it's one of the better hooks, one of the better songs I've heard all year in this style, and you can explore that yourself a little bit more. There are 3 or 4 songs on here for their side, and I think that's the song that caught my ear best, and reinforced that I think Jade is a band that will continue to evolve in ways that are surprising, but also hook into death metal in a way that is still vitally death metal. It still has that heartbeat and that aggression that death metal should, but they're also capable of much more. And rather than shouting out down a chasm in a declarative way that like a lot of earlier Bolzer did when they were striking out on like their third EP or so, which is what the pacification of death did most often, they've tempered that in a way that is more varietal on this EP. And I don't know if this is a detour or just a general side quest like a lot of EPs can be, but it feels like this is a step up for the band, and they're showcasing what they're doing that's new. Not just Cascade, but the other songs on this EP do something a little bit different as well, and they flow together in a way where it feels like they bookended the experience in a unique way. So I don't have that much else to say about this. This is a full album's worth of material. It's about 18 minutes per band. It's a substantial split release, and it feels like it is essentially um, uh, not cast-offs. This isn't throwaway material. This is actually material meant to represent each band very well. It feels like a very serious split and not one that was just some garbage that bands threw together because they were friends on tour. So it is some very strong material from both bands, both characteristic of each band, but also showing something a little bit new on the case of Jade. I think that reinforcing the signature of Sanctuarium is important for them right now, and that's what you get here with two bigger songs. And if you're a fan of like maybe like Cathedral or Ripakulu, you'll understand why those are cool songs from the band. And in terms of Jade, we're getting something that is not just reinforcing their signature and their sound, but evolving it. So for me, this was an exciting split LP to listen to. It's one of the better records of September, and I think it's a pretty cool thing overall. Like I thought that the album art was kind of weird at first, but the more I looked at it and I sort of understood what they were intending with the sort of theme of the album, it all comes together for me. Everything sounds just fantastic on this record too. They're both produced fittingly for the style of each band. So for me, this was a good matchup. Kind of a weird matchup overall for a split, but they kind of make sense together in terms of they're both coming from kind of old school temperament, but putting their own work into it. So for me, that's a very high recommendation. This is a very strong work from both bands. They're both much above average work, and worth recommending. So check that out yourself. It releases today on September 13th, and see what you think yourself, and read my review for a few more of my own thoughts.